Hi skiers, I'm Jeff from skiessentials.com. We're here today to do another kind of ski review. We're going to look at 3 different models today. These are the women's Nordica Santa Ana skis. We've done a lot of, we've pretty much gone through all of the Enforcer models, all the 2019 Enforcer models except the Pro this past season alone. So circle back to those reviews if you haven't seen those. But we thought we would kind of talk about the Santa Ana models all together because, you know, they share shapes with the Enforcer collection. So definitely some differences. It's pretty much all based on the core material that they use. But different performance out of these Santa Ana skis, very similar. But instead of doing a individual review on each, we thought we would kind of just run through them together and talk about the differences between these skis and the Enforcer skis, their performance, and all that good stuff. Before we jump into it, something that I started the written portion of this article about, there's kind of multiple schools of thought in the industry right now about how to design women's skis. Kind of the classic 2 ways to look at it is, on one side of the spectrum, some companies are saying women are really good skiers, just as good as men, so why should their skis be different than men? And they're kind of using that to justify same construction across men's and women's skis. The other school of thought, or the other way to look at it is you know, women are physiologically different than men. So their skis should be built, you know, purposefully engineered to work more with a woman's body than a man's body. And, you know, it's tough to say that one of those is right or wrong. I don't think we can really say that one of those is right or wrong. On one hand, women do absolutely rip. Some of our testers and our staff are unbelievable skiers, unbelievable women skiers, but you know that women's bodies are different, so there's truth to both of those perspectives. Something that I think is interesting is when a company does make different construction women's skis or different designs for their women's skis, it's at least providing the skier and the consumer with more options. So within Nordica's collection, you know, if you're a female, you don't have to ski the Santa Ana. You can ski an Enforcer. In fact, there's a lot of local women here in Stowe that ski the Enforcer, 93, 100, even the 110. There's also some men in Stowe that ski women's skis. I think we see that less, based on just stubborn masculinity, I think. But so take the Enforcer and the Santa Ana collection, you've got 7 different skis in there. So Santa Ana 93, 100, and 110, and then you have Enforcer 93, 100, 110, and Pro. So that's 7 different skis. Are they very similar? Yes, but there's 7 different options there. So I think that's something that's really cool. So when companies do make men's and women's skis with different construction, it's at least increasing the amount of options out there. So I have 4 skis on the wall here. I'm going to mention what they are before I go through them. This is the 2019 Santa Ana 93. This is actually the 2018 Santa Ana 100. The 100 is pretty much the only one that we don't have the 2019 graphic right now. And then this is the 2019 Santa Ana 110. And this ski over here on the far right is the La Nina, which is discontinued now. But I wanted to talk about it because I think there's a lot of La Nina influence in the 110. We kind of talked about how the Patron influenced the Enforcer 110 in that review. But we'll get to that later. We're going to kind of save the widest skis for last. So let's start with the 93, and we'll also kind of talk about the difference between the Enforcer and the Santa Ana here. So what I'm about to say carries over between the 93 and the 100. So the Santa Ana, compared to the Enforcer, very, very similar construction. The Enforcer uses a poplar and beechwood core. The Santa Ana uses poplar, beech, and also a fairly significant amount of balsa. So it's kind of their I-core design, and they refer to it as Energy 2 titanium balsa construction. So definitely lighter. The 110 uses it as well, but the Enforcer is a little different, so we're going to save that, and we'll talk about that when we get to it. But with the Santa Ana 93 and the 100, there's balsa in the core. That's really the only difference between the Santa Ana and the Enforcer, but it does change the ski fairly significantly. So still 2 sheets of metal, still that 0.4 millimeter metal Titanal. It's 0.4. We've talked about before. It's thinner than a lot of companies use, which kind of softens the overall flex of the ski, but still gives it great damping abilities, vibration damping abilities, and stability. And then there's also that pre-preg carbon in this ski as well, just like the men's Enforcer. So having a lighter ski. Some women prefer it for sure. You get a little bit quicker maneuverability just because there's less swing weight. And then when you watch people ski them, and you feel it too when you're on them, it does have a softer flex. So something that I kind of come back to with the Santa Ana versus the Enforcer, the Santa Ana has the same ability to kind of suck up imperfections in the snow. It has that same really stable feel when you're kind of riding your edge or staying on your edge through a turn, kind of locked into that turn. The ski really works well to kind of work with the undulations in the snow. I think watching footage of people skiing this and slowing it down, you can really see the ski work across the board with the Santa Ana 93, 100, and 110. They all have a slightly easier flex, so they kind of unlock that same performance at slower speeds and under or on the feet of a lighter weight skier. So to me, that's the major difference between the Santa Ana line and the Enforcer line. Lighter swing weight, so a little bit easier to maneuver, and then that slightly softer flex profile. Really, the way that I think about it is it's unlocking the ski's full performance at slower speeds and on the feet of a lighter weight skier. So whether you're a very lightweight woman, or if you're less aggressive, or both, the Santa Ana is certainly more appropriate than the Enforcer. The Enforcer, take me for example, I'm somewhere between 150 and 160 pounds, and I feel like I need to ski that ski at a certain speed to really unlock its true potential. You really get to feel what the ski can do at its best. You need kind of a minimum speed limit, and I don't feel quite the same way on the Santa Anas. So that's the 93. Like I said, this is the 2018 Santa Ana 100. So very, very similar. Let's talk about shape real quick because we kind of breezed past that. Same shape as the Enforcers. Quite long tip rocker and a little bit more subtle tail rocker, but definitely tail rocker, and then camber underfoot, and they use this really smooth, gradual, early taper, which I've talked about a lot. Very intuitive, very predictable feel in soft snow. It sinks through the snow in a very even, predictable way, which to me is a confidence-inspiring feel for a ski like this, especially the 93 and the 110 or the 100, because those skis aren't so wide that you're going to stay on top of everything. You are going to sink in a little bit to soft snow, and when you do, this tip shape and the tail shape does it so evenly that they're really easy to kind of expect what's going to happen next on the ski and ski very intuitively and easily. So between the 93 and the 100, both great skis. We see a lot of both of them skied on a daily basis here in Stowe. But I would say if you're choosing between the two, really think about the conditions that you ski, or the snow conditions that you're typically skiing on a daily basis. Here in Stowe, I would say the 93 is arguably the more appropriate daily driver ski or one ski quiver. It is quicker edge to edge on firm snow, slightly better torsional stiffness just because it's narrower. So it does outperform the 100 on firm snow, and then vice versa in soft snow. So maybe you live out west, or maybe you're an eastern skier like us here in Stowe, and you just value that extra width, the extra float and stability more than quickness edge to edge on groomers. Ultimately, they're essentially going to accomplish the same things between the two, but it's really a difference in feel, a relatively subtle difference in feel too, I will add. And that's the 93 and the 100. Awesome skis. You can see on the graphic, though 2018 was kind of a snowflake inspired graphic. For 2019 it's a evergreen tree, which I really like the tree graphic. I think it looks great. In fact, if they made that ski in a 185, I think I would want a pair. But anyways, let's move on to the 110. Going back real quick, Santa Ana versus Enforcer. The Enforcer 110 actually also uses the Energy 2 titanium balsa core. So the 110 and the Pro both have balsa in them. So the actual materials in the ski are identical across between the Santa Ana 110, the Enforcer 110, and the Enforcer Pro. The difference is the overall flex profile of the ski. So if you recall our Enforcer 110 review, we talked about how the Pro is significantly stiffer because it's actually a thicker core profile. You can say the same between the Santa Ana 110 and the Enforcer 110. So softer flex profile in the Santa Ana 110, which is essentially delivering the same thing as these the 93 and the 100. So even though it shares the same materials with the 110, you're still getting a slightly softer flex and also a slightly lighter weight ski because there's just less material. Same materials, same exact materials, but there's less of them. So kind of a specifically engineered flex profile for women on the Santa Ana 110. So again, lighter weight skiers for most women compared to men, or just slightly less aggressive. I think the Santa Ana 110 is a more appropriate choice than the Enforcer 110. And I think you still get, like, pretty much with all these skis, you still get essentially the same level of performance, just better suited for those lighter weight skiers or slightly less aggressive skiers. So that's the 110. Definitely, I want to talk a little bit about the influence from the La Nina. The La Nina, it's now gone. It's essentially been replaced by the 110. But I think some obvious influence. The difference that I see between these two skis, less taper, or less early taper in the La Nina. So definitely some influence from the Enforcer collection went into this shape. But I think they pulled quite a bit from the La Nina, just like I said about the Enforcer and the Patron in that review. So more of a dedicated powder ski. The Santa Ana 110 is the widest women's ski in the entire Nordica line, so definitely the most suited for powder skiing, and I think that's the right way to think of it. Where the 93 and the 100 are more all mountain skis, the 110's definitely starting to get more into that freeride ski, powder ski realm. There are definitely going to be some skiers out there that want a ski that wide for a daily driver. It does fantastic in powder, but I think one of the things that's most impressive about the Santa Ana 110 is the fact that it can still carve turns on groomers. Feels pretty responsive for a ski that wide with that much rocker. So it can be an all-mountain ski. What comes to mind for me is a adventurous skier that lives out west in the Rockies or Pacific Northwest. I could see somebody using that as their daily driver. A little bit wide for the kind of firmer, icier days here in Vermont. But that said, you do see a lot of people out there on pretty wide skis every day. So I could see that. I could see somebody around here skiing it every day, but I really think it's more of a powder ski for most people. I think the Santa Ana 93 and a 110 would be an awesome two-ski quiver. You could say the same about even like an Astral. We'll probably do a review or a guide of the Astral skis, like the Astral 88 or an 84. You could pair with a 100 or a 110 as kind of your firm snow, soft snow ski quiver. So a lot of choices there, and I think that's, well, in my opinion, that's kind of what I wanted to hit home about what Nordica is doing with the Santa Ana and Enforcer skis. So remember that when you're shopping for skis, there's 7 different choices here. So women, don't be afraid to look at the men's Enforcer line, but do that with a grain of salt. Know that those skis are going to be stiffer, heavier, more demanding. And then men, I think I invite men to consider the Santa Ana line, or women's skis in general. I love the look of the Santa Ana 110. I think if they made that ski in a 185, that would be kind of my playful powder ski for when I just wanted to jib around and do fun little tricks. I think it's an awesome looking ski. I love the colors on it. So men, don't shy away from women's skis just because they're women's skis. Maybe you're a lighter weight skier. Or maybe you're less aggressive than you used to be. Some really cool options here, and yeah, that about does it. That's the Santa Ana collection for 2019. Like I said, this is the 2018 graphic, but we will have the 2019 version soon. And snow is all but gone here in Stowe, so it'll be a while before we physically see you on the slopes, but we'll be biking and doing all sorts of fun summer activities around here, and hopefully getting on snow a few more times before it's finally gone. So we'll just say we'll see you on the trails, and we'll hopefully have another video for you soon. Thank you.